Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday live stream. My name is Justin, and today I'm going to be talking about Git worktrees and how you would use them to work across different branches while you're on the same repository. Now, before we get started, I would just like to say that I do assume that everybody has a basic knowledge of Git and the Git commands. If not, we do have another video on our channel called Git Basics that brushes up on everything you need to know, and it is a good reference to get started. Awesome. So before we jump into an example, I would just like to explain what Git worktrees are and why you would use them. So basically a Git worktree is just a copy of your local repository that is made to a path that you specify and checked out to a different branch. Now this could be very useful since if you're working on a branch currently that has a lot of work and you're not confident enough to commit this work or to push it upstream to the remote repository, you could just create a new Git worktree, work on a different branch until you're ready to go back to the branch that you were busy working with. Now, when using Git worktree, let me get into an example rather. Okay, so I have a remote repository created on GitHub for us to start off with. I cloned this repository locally into a folder called Git worktrees. So best practices basically when working with Git worktrees is to have a housing folder for all of your worktrees. Otherwise, things can get a bit unorganized. So that's what I've done here. I created a Git worktrees folder. Inside here, I have my main worktree, which is basically every time you use git-clone or you use git-init to create a repository, a main worktree is created, and this is also referred to as the main working directory, which houses all of the information that Git needs, like your commit history, what branches exist in the repository, all of that stuff. So here we have a repository that has multiple branches on it. Now, to get into a situation where you would use a Git worktree is, let's say, in this current main branch, we want to create a file, utils, just a normal JavaScript file, and we create a function that says concat spaces. That'll just take two strings and add them together with the space in between. And now suddenly, we were still busy working on this folder. We wanted to add a lot more functions, but something came up and now we need to go to a different branch and do some work there. Now we can't just commit this work yet since we're not confident enough with it. There's still a lot we want to do, and we also can't just go to a branch that already exists because we want a clean slate. We don't want any work carried over or anything like that. What you would basically do in an instance like this, if you're not using Git worktrees, is use something like git stash. So let's just see what work we have here. Git status. So we have that utils file, but we want to work on a new branch that doesn't have this file. We want to work on something completely different. So what you would do if you're not using Git worktrees is go git stash. First, you would like to add this work. Sorry about that. Then you would use git stash to stash the work that you've done. You would go to a new branch. Let's see what branches we have available. Branch 1. You would check out to that branch. You would do whatever work you need to do on that branch. You can see we don't have the utils folder file in there at all. You would do your work here, commit it, push it upstream to the remote, go back to your main branch, and then you would use git stash pop to get your the work that you were busy with back. Now, This isn't really that nice to use, since if you're working on a project that you're busy with a lot of folders and a lot of files, your Git stash can get a little bit clogged, and you can get confused. Maybe you will pop something from your stash that wasn't this work, and then you'll just be left with a really ugly branch full of work that you don't want. So to avoid this, we would be using git worktrees. Now let's get into an example here. Let's commit this work just so that we have something to start off of. Call this feat utils, added a function. Cool. Okay, so now we have our main branch, and we have a file to start doing some work with. And let's say now we've been adding more functions. I'm just going to duplicate these because I think my creativity juices have run out, and I can't think of cool functions right now. We're busy working with this, but we don't want to save any of this work at all. But we also don't want to stash it, and we want to go to a new branch now and do some other work completely unrelated to this work. So how you would do that is you would use the git worktree add command. Now, when using this command, you would specify a path now where you want this repository to be copied to. So I want to have it go one directory up, which would then be in the git worktrees folder. And then we just need to give it a name. So let's say this was an emergency that we had to work on. We'll call this the hotfix worktree. So once we've done that, you'll see a folder has been created inside of the git worktrees folder that also has this utils.js file, but as you'll see, it doesn't have any of the work that we were busy with. And also now, as you can see, we haven't lost any of the work that we were busy with on that current file. So what happened here was with the git worktree add command, this repository or this main branch has been copied completely and put into a directory called hotfix that points to the latest commit in the directory that we were working with. So if we go here on this main branch, we'll see we added a function commit, and it points to the main branch. Now, let's say if we go back one directory and we go to the hotfix folder and we use our git log to see our commits, we'll also see that the hotfix folder points to the feat utils added a function, which was the latest commit we had in our main branch. What happened when we used the git worktree add command is that path that we specified, the name hotfix, Git created a branch for us already called hotfix, as you can see when we list all of our branches, and it checked this folder out to that branch called hotfix. So now you have a local branch that you can do any testing work that you want to do. If you do some work here, you can actually push this branch upstream, or at some point you can just completely discard it if you don't want to use anything inside of here again. So let's say we made a fluke. We didn't want to create a completely new local branch that doesn't have anything. We'll go back to our main working directory and we'll just use the command git worktree remove and then specify the path to that worktree, and you'll see that that has completely been removed. Now, to just jump a little bit more into what Git is doing right now, before we move on to using Git worktrees with branches that already actually exist, you'll see that once we create a worktree, in this case we'll just call it test. Inside of our main working directory, you'll see there is a hidden folder called .git. You won't see it in your workspace since it's hidden, but if you do a list that lists everything in the directory, you'll see that there is a folder called .git. Now, if you go into that folder, you'll see that a new folder has been created called Worktrees. Now, this houses all of the information that is contained inside of this worktree. So that would be all of the commits and anything associated with that worktree. All of the branches it has been checked out to, all of that stuff will be housed inside of this Git Worktrees folder. So we'll see if we go in there and list everything we have. We'll have this test worktree. We won't have the hotfix worktree since we already removed it, so all of the information from that worktree has been removed. But you will see that removing a worktree doesn't remove the branch associated with that worktree. So that means that if you have committed work to that branch and you remove the worktree, that you will still have all of that work committed to that branch locally or remotely if you have specified a remote repositories branch. So inside of this test worktree folder, inside of our main Git repository, you'll see that there is a Git directory file. Now this file, if we open it up, Git directory, houses the information or the path where you have saved the worktree that you are currently busy with. So every time you create a worktree, that path that you specify gets updated here in the Git directory file in your worktree. So every single worktree will have a different path, and that's the one that you specified. So with that, this means that once you check add a worktree and it has been checked out to a branch, that doesn't limit you to just using that branch that you've checked out to. So for an example, we'll go back, we'll go into this test worktree. We'll see it is currently checked out in the test branch, as you can see here. But we also have a branch 1, branch 2, and that hotfix branch available to us. So now what we can do is we made a fluke again. Test branch is not what we wanted to go to. We actually wanted to go to a branch that already exists. We can just check out this folder to one of those branches that already exists. So in this case, there we go. Now we can go to our branch 2. So the reason we can do that is if we go back again to our main working directory, which is here, and we go to the .git folder, worktrees, and then our current worktree. If we open up that head file, you can see that this head file is what gets updated when you check out to new branches and stuff like that. So it's called the directory it's saved to, the path, and the branch it's checked out to is completely different. So you can basically have an unlimited amount of these work trees, and every single one of them can be checked out to different branches. You can do any work you want across all of these branches. Basically, the only thing that you need to keep in mind is if you're working with a lot of these directories and you're working in a big project, file size can get a bit insane. Since this is going to be a full copy of your repository every single time. So that'll be everything inside of your repository that hasn't specifically been said for it to be ignored in a like git ignore file or something like that. Everything else in your folder will be copied over. So this could get a bit big in size. Now, so we already saw that in our worktrees directory on our main branch, we have a Git directory that points to our worktree. Now the same happens for the worktree that you create. So you'll see that inside of our test worktree, let me just go back to it. Inside of our test worktree, we'll also have a .git. In this case, we'll have a file, not a folder, since the only thing a worktree has information of is the directory to your main working trees Git information. So we'll see if we open up this file, it has a Git directory, and that points to your main working tree Git information. You can see Git worktree stream repo, which is this repo, and it points to the .git folder. And inside there, it's just a bit cut off now, but it would be the Worktrees folder and then the Worktrees name that we were currently busy with. Just get out here. So already you can see that this would be very useful if you wanted to work across many different branches. So let's create an example where we have a remote repository that has a lot of branches already set up for us. I just want to remove this worktree. Worktree remove test. Here we go. It's gone now. Okay. So let's say on this remote repository we have a development. Once I learn how to spell, we have a development branch. There we go. Created from main. That one already exists for some reason. Here we go. We have a staging branch as well. Okay, so now we have all of these different branches that we want to work on. But if you develop across these branches a lot, you don't want to just have one repository that you're working on that you constantly have to rush your work. You have to finish it, then move on to the next portion. Maybe something happens and you, for an emergency, need to work on the main branch and leave your development work, but too much has already been done. You can't just leave your work there, so you're going to have to stash it, and then things can just be crazy. What you would do is just use git worktrees again. I just want to fetch the branch information really quickly that we created. Here we go. So now we have the development and staging branch. What we can do now is we can go git worktree add. We would still specify a path, which we can call development itself. And then as a new argument, you would specify the branch that already exists. In this case, development. So there we go. Now we can see a worktree has been created for us. Let's go back one space. A worktree has been created for us called development, and that directory is checked out now to the development branch. So now in this development branch, you can do whatever you want for your development needs. If you're done with that, you can just literally go back one space. Go to your git worktrees command, and there you go. You're back in your main repository. And like we said, you can have as many of these as you want. So we can create a new one, git worktree add, go back one directory, say staging, and the branch was also called staging. We'll do that. And there you can see branch staging set up to track the remote branch staging. So it's already set up to track the remote branch, so you can do all your work on there, and once you push the work there, it'll also be on your remote branch. For example, let's go back, let's go to our development branch. There we go. And inside this branch, we'll just create a git-ignore. There we go. We don't need to have anything inside there right now. If we go git status, we'll see that's untracked. We'll add that and then commit the work. There we go. And once we push that, there we go. So as you can see, we push that up to the remote repository. So if we go back here, we go to the development branch, you'll see the git-ignore was added. Now, now that you've done the work you needed to on that branch, you can either keep it there and just continue working on it in the future, or you can just remove it with no consequences. Go back to our main repository or our main worktree. From here is where you remove all of your stale worktrees. So here we can just go git worktree remove and then specify development, and that will be removed. and none of the work that you did on that repository will be removed, because as you can see, it has already been pushed upstream to the remote repository. Awesome. So just one more issue that the only issue that I've actually seen with Git Worktrees are you can't be checked out to two of the same branches across different worktrees. This is actually a saving grace, because now you can't accidentally check out to the main branch twice, do some work on the one and on the other, and then just get confused. You'll see if we go git branch, currently here we're on the main branch, and the other worktree staging will be on the staging branch. Now, if we're on this branch and we would say go check out to the main branch, you'll see fatal main is already checked out at whatever the directory is. And if we go back to our Worktrees stream repo, into our .git folder, go to our Worktrees and go into our staging one, you'll see that what I said before in here in the head folder, it refers to the branch it's currently checked out to. So whenever you use git checkout on any of your worktrees, these refs are checked just to see that you're not checking out to the same branch multiple times. Awesome. Now we can go back and just remove that staging directory. Just want to get there. Worktrees repo. Git worktree remove. Back staging. Okay. Yeah, that's basically it. So Git Worktrees, there's not a lot to go about Git Worktrees. The only thing it is just a copy of your local repository, or in this case, whichever working directory you're checked out to. Once you create a Git Worktree, if you don't specify a path, a branch would be created for this worktree to get added to, and that branch would be pointing to the latest commit from the branch that you've created the worktree from. And if you specify a branch that already exists, a local copy would be made that points to the latest commit from the branch that you specified. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching tonight's stream. Hopefully you can use Git Worktrees someday in your own projects, just to make life a little bit easier. And yeah, we'll leave a bit of time for questions now. Awesome. Okay, so here I see we have what would happen to any dependencies you have installed on your main worktree. Okay, so this is another problem. So let's say we're in this Git Worktrees stream repo. We'll just call npm init and just skip all of that. We don't need to get fancy. And then we'll just install a package, whatever. I'm just going to use that one. There we go. See if it updated. Okay, there we go. We'll see we have this package installed. Let me just commit all this work. Okay, wait. Before, most cases, you would have a .git ignore here that would specify all of your node modules should be ignored and not pushed upstream. We'll just add that here, and then we'll commit all of this. There we go. First I have to add all of it, then we'll commit it. We'll push it upstream. Let's go. There we go. Okay, so now we have a commit that houses all of this work. So now you'll see that once you do create a new work tree, git worktree add, that houses all of the latest commits from this main branch, it unfortunately will not have any of the oh wait, sorry, that one already existed. Now I have to get creative with names again. Let's do that. Node worktree. There we go. You'll see that your node modules unfortunately does not get carried over since you said it has to be get ignored. So if for some reason you do not get ignore your node modules, that would be the only way for you to preserve that. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go back now to your node worktree that you just created and run npmi, which I don't think is really that bad, since you could, like I showed before, you can have pre-made work trees, a development, a staging one, and in there you could have already run your npm commands, and then you can just use those different work trees to check out to different branches as need be. But to answer it shortly, unfortunately, you will not be able to keep your node modules once you create a new work tree. Okay. Let's see if there are any other questions. No. Okay, I think the dependencies were the only questions asked. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I have to say this was my first live stream, and it was a bit nerve-wracking, but I think it'll go better in the future now. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please stay tuned for our next Tech Tuesday videos coming up, and have a great evening. Thank you, and bye.